Sunday when it counted in the ACC tournament on his way to becoming an ACC champion. Getting set for 125 pounds, Will Guida for North Carolina taking on Colton Camacho for the Panthers. Pittsburgh debuting those new anthracite gray singlets for the first time. A little brighter in the building here than you might be used to seeing if you're a Pitt fan. Usually they have the lights out, but tonight they've got 2 mats out because ACC is having extra matches happen after a duel where guys can actually get to compete with the lack of tournaments this year due to COVID-19 pandemic. So the lights are on tonight because the mat is off center.
And granted, we don't have any ranked wrestler here at 125 right now, but with Pitt and UNC and this being such a close duel, every match is exciting, and that's even with these two, Camacho and Guida. I mean, this match is huge just for throughout all 10 duels. So I like the start of Camacho though. I mean, you see him right off the bat go for double unders and really kind of set the tone and control the center of the mat. So I really like what I'm seeing from Camacho so far, and look for him to just kind of continue to get to his position. I mean, we're looking at a second time that Guida is towards the out of bounds here.
And you said it, Anthony. I mean, there's no ranked wrestler going right now, but as we went through the probables before we came on the air, Anthony, as I was talking to you, you said this could very easily split up as a 5-5 in terms of the 10 matches we have ahead of us tonight. So every opportunity for bonus points tonight could prove pivotal if you're deciding the duel at the end of these 10 matches.
Yeah, and I think that's why I was looking forward to this matchup so much, because you have, guys like O'Connor, who's ranked #1. You have guys like Philippi, who's ranked #4, and Bonacorsi, top 10, some others out there. Those are the guys, those are the team leads, the team captains, and those are the ones that the coaches are counting on for these bonus points. Rarely do you see all 10 duels in a match, go straight decision. So with this being such a close match, I had it 5-5 split. You're almost guaranteed to see some bonus points, and that's going to be the differentiator for sure.
Will Guida, a true freshman from Rockaway, New Jersey, St. Paul's High School in Maryland. Colton Camacho, a redshirt freshman himself from Delmont, Pennsylvania, Franklin Regional High School. Camacho's first season competing in dual matches. Colton Camacho, if you're curious, no relation to Jacob Camacho, the ACC champion at 125 pounds from last year out of NC State. Those two actually wrestled a couple weeks ago. Lost a major decision, did Colton, to the unrelated Camacho and Jacob.
You see Guida got hit with a stalling about 30 seconds ago, and Camacho, that's what he's really looking for. I mean, little duck under from Guida, almost had it. You see Camacho was pushing in a little bit too much there. I think he felt that stalling call coming, but.
Scoreless through the first period. North Carolina head coach Coleman Scott in his 6th season leading the Tar Heels, was an assistant for a season before he got the head job. You see in 2019, 19th place finish at NCAA's, and that was the best finish as a program for North Carolina in about 25 years. So you talk about 2 head coaches tonight, Anthony, that have their programs moving in the right direction, and ACC wrestling seems to get stronger and stronger every year.
Yeah, it's really exciting, especially right now with Gavin and Coleman Scott having a little bit of a past relationship with some similarities in their training and competing. But UNC, I mean, what a story. And the ACC in general. I mean, there's so many top 10 teams in the ACC right now, and we're going to see some really good matchups tonight.
Still scoreless, but the riding time moving in favor of Camacho here as he started this period on the top.
He's got to be careful here. He's close to giving up a Peterson roll. And that's what Guida was looking for. I think now Guida is kind of bailing on that Peterson and just going to look for his escape or his 1 point, and there he's going to get it. The ref gives nothing though. Ref didn't give anything there though. That's a close call. I would say Camacho had his hands locked in a front headlock, and I think that's what the ref was looking at.
So still scoreless. Riding time has ticked over a minute in favor of Camacho. Under a minute to go here in the second period.
Yeah, and if you're Camacho right now, I mean, it's almost. Ooh, he almost had a little bit of back points there. But if you're Camacho right now, I mean, in my opinion, it's been I think Camacho had the advantage in the first period, and I think he's having the advantage right now. However, the score's still 0-0. Granted, Camacho does have riding time, but if you're Camacho and you had that good of a first period and you're having a good second period, I mean, you got to start putting some points on the scoreboard here.
It's a big mat return near the boundary. They'll come to the middle as Camacho grabs at his left hand. Camacho back to the top. Colton Camacho out of Franklin Regional High School, a two-time state qualifier, runner-up as a junior. On the other side for Guida, he was a Maryland State champion in high school.
Looks like Camacho is going to finish the period with 2 full minutes of riding time.
Looking ahead to the rest of the evening, you see the ranked wrestlers that we're going to have on either side hitting the mat tonight. At least that's expected. These are the probables, of course. So Sherman, O'Connor, Monday, and Lout, and then Philippi, Matthews, Wenzel, Bonacorsi. So ranked wrestlers riddled throughout the probables, up and down all the weight classes tonight. Make sure you stick with us. Of course, we don't have a ranked matchup right now, but you're going to see a lot of wrestling talent out on the mat tonight.
Oh, yeah. It's exciting. And even throughout the ACC, all these teams competing against each other, there's so many fun, awesome matchups, and so many upsets we've seen so far too. But that's so cool because, an outcome of a match during the regular season versus the ACC championships and versus the NCAA tournament, you can see a whole new match.
Well, the interesting thing too is a lot of these guys, at least according to their coaches, Coleman Scott and Keith Gavin, they clearly told us there's a couple guys on each of these rosters that they expect to be at least on the podium come nationals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, all these coaches, they have high expectations for their athletes. And I think, when you set your goals at the beginning of the season, you want to set your goals high. So in everybody's mind, if you ask them individually, they want to be national champion. They want to be All-American. No matter if they're in the conversation or not, that's what they have to believe. And it's a mindset.
This match winding down, and Guida has done a nice job in this third period of getting rid of some of that riding time. Down under a minute for Camacho as Camacho's trying to get out, and he finally does get out for the first points of tonight's duel.
Yep, he did lose the point of riding time by about, 11 seconds. So, a takedown here from Guida will put him up. You saw so much good energy and so much good hand fighting and positioning from Camacho. Oh, we have a stalling call on Guida, so that would be 1 point Camacho. Now that changes the game plan a little bit for Camacho. He can kind of go on the defense a little bit. Now with 30 seconds left, when you have a lead, and it's only a 2-point lead, you can't shut down. You just open yourself up, and you see it here. Guida's now on a shot. Camacho, nice fighting it out, nice sprawl, stuffs the head. But you still got to fight. You still have to stay in there. And you see nice little duck under attempt again, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Colton Camacho with a win by decision. 2-0 over Guida gives the Panthers a 3-0 lead in the duel after 125. Mickey Philippi in 133 coming up next. Welcome back to the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, looking at Keith Gavin in his 4th season as the Pitt head coach. 30-20 in duels produced 3 ACC champions last year. Only one of those have departed, Demetrius Thomas. But he has a couple of guys back this year, of course, and Jake Wenzel and Mickey Philippi. Mickey Philippi, at 133 pounds, will take the mat right now against Joe Heilman for North Carolina. Joe Heilman, the redshirt sophomore from South Plainfield, New Jersey. We thought heading into tonight that we would see Jamie Hernandez, who is the 11th ranked wrestler per the Intermat poll, but he is not with the team tonight. Don't have a reason why, he's just not here. And so tonight, Mickey Philippi will face somebody that he didn't expect to in Joe Heilman. Philippi, the number 4 ranked wrestler in the country by Intermat from Derry, Pennsylvania. Spent his first year in college at Virginia and transferred back to the University of Pittsburgh. He's had quite a bit of success here, Anthony.
Yeah, he has, and especially last year, he was picking up a lot of steam, a lot of momentum, and a lot of confidence as well. You know, a couple big wins, especially one at the Fieldhouse with Fix from Oklahoma State, and from there, I mean, he's just so technically sound, and he pays attention to so many little details that he's very difficult to beat. He's kind of known for his, winning the close ones, and when it comes to nationals and the 3-day tournament, you have to be able to win the close ones, and that's an area that he succeeds at, and he uses it to his advantage.
So we talked to Coach Gavin about Mickey Philippi before this, and it's such a strange year where you don't get nearly as many matches. I mean, we're sitting here in the first week of February, and some of these guys don't have more than 2 or 3 matches under their belt. In the case of Philippi, he's 6-0 this season so far, and this is exactly what Keith Gavin told us he needed to do, get to his offense more quickly. He can't wait for the match to come to him, and if he does that, Anthony, in the long run and is consistent with that, Coach Gavin thinks that is what the key will be to him becoming a national champion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with Mickey, when he gets a hot start, he can really open up. And once he opens up, he becomes a free wrestler. And when he becomes that, he's hard to stop just because he has so much offense. And this is what I love right here. You'll see him down low in his, 2-3 point stance here. And he does a baseball grip. So a Russian tie, he can either do it from the left side or the right side. And the beauty about that move is he can hit head inside, head outside, ankle picks, anything from there, and again on the left leg or right leg of the opponent. So he gets to his tie-ups, and he's a master of that tie-up. He's a master of some very specific things from each position. So he's not very broad in a sense of he knows 1,000 moves. And I don't think you need to know 1,000 moves to be good at wrestling. You need to master a few things that work for you, and that's what Philippi does excellently.
So 2-1 Philippi at the end of 1. Let's take a look at the takedown from Mickey.
Yep, he's going to go for this 2-on-1 tie. The opponent tries to fight the hands, and as he fights the hands away, it opens up a shot and opens up a window for Philippi to penetrate to the leg. And, we've seen that takedown 1,000 times from him, and in his textbook every time.
Look at the top 5 wrestlers at 133 pounds. Of course, Dayton Fix up at number 1. Mickey Philippi, once upon a time, a couple years ago, took down Dayton Fix on this mat. But this is the competition that Mickey Philippi has in his weight class moving forward into nationals. And, of course, anybody from Penn State or Iowa is always going to pose a threat.
Yeah, this is the weight class that's getting the most attention for sure. This is the weight class that's getting most talked about. It's a fun weight class. It may be the funnest weight class in the country. And the thing that makes it so exciting is all of these guys can beat each other, and they're all unique. They're all different personalities. They're all different styles. So stylistically, the way that bracket gets broken down come March at NCAAs is gonna be awesome.
So, Anthony, I do want to ask you about nationals and how things may change this year. I mean, both coaches told us, and every coach we've talked to this year said it's just been the strangest situation, not competing until January, not getting matches under your belt, not getting tournaments under your belt already. So some of these duels have had to get scheduled back-to-back on back-to-back nights to get guys used to wrestling a couple times over the stretch of 2 days or even twice in one day. How does it affect you as a wrestler to not have that type of experience leading into a national tournament where you're going to have to do things like that?
Yeah, you know, I'm not really sure because I'm not in the position, but I do know the wrestler's mentality. And, you know, there's one thing we talked to Coach Gavin yesterday before the match, and, you know, one of the questions we had for him was just, what have you changed this year with a different time frame, with a shortened season? Do you taper your athletes off throughout your training program through the year? Is any of that different? And what Gavin said was right now they're still training pretty hard. They'll start to taper, but these guys need to adapt because they're not alone. Every athlete, every competitor, every other national qualifiers in the same boat, and whoever can adapt to that and figure out, hey, I have to cut weight a little bit differently this year, or I have to taper, my training to, what works best for me, then those are the athletes that are probably going to succeed. And there's no magic sauce to it. That's why these coaches are, some of the top coaches in the country, and we're seeing some of the best athletes in the country right now. So as the season moves on, it'll be really interesting.
As of right now, the NCAA tournament's scheduled to have the same type of format, 33 seeds. And there are a bunch of criteria that the seeding could actually drop down depending on how many programs are active at that particular time. But, you don't want to talk about stuff like that. The attempt is to get it done the way it's supposed to be done. And, with the way wrestling has gone so far this year, not a ton of cancellations. It's extremely possible that we could get there. Philippi with a 3-1 lead over Joe Heilman as we end the second period. And if Philippi is to win a national championship this year, he'll have to go through this guy again in Dayton Fix. See, 2019, 2 years ago on this mat right here in the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, the energy was insane in the building that night, Anthony, as Philippi was able to take down Dayton Fix. And really at that time, it was an unexpected upset. That was kind of Philippi's coming out party. It was his first year with Pitt competing at a high level, and that match right there put him on the map. And for the rest of the year, he got the attention he deserved.
Yeah, and getting wins like that boosts your confidence, and confidence is very important in this sport. So look for him to just continue to build off stuff like that.
He went on that year, Philippi did, to be an ACC champion and a NCAA qualifier. And in the NCAA tournament that year, he actually lost to a guy who is sitting on his bench right now, one of his best buddies in Luke Pletcher. At that time was wrestling at Ohio State.
Yeah, that was a funny story. I think they split 1-1, one win, one loss each. But yeah, they were training partners. They're from the same area, Latrobe and Derry, so they were training partners and buddies from youth. And that's what you got to love about this sport too, is even though they're competitors on the mat and, trying to annihilate each other out there, at the same time, there's so much respect at this. So it's unique in its own way.
Well, Pletcher was obviously an amazing wrestler during his time. This is his first year not competing, first year out of school. And Coach Gavin told us, he's been really, really helpful for a number of guys for different reasons. In the case of Mickey Philippi, since they were so close, he said Pletcher's presence has just been great for Mickey from an attitude standpoint. He's comfortable around Luke Pletcher. Those two guys have such a good relationship that it keeps Mickey grounded from a day-to-day basis. How do you think that could help Mickey moving forward, knowing that he, at all times, has a guy like Luke in his corner that can be honest with him and real with him when he needs it?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. Throughout the season, I don't think any wrestler experiences constant high. You're going to go through a rut. You're going to dip. And, you're going to get beat up at times, and you're definitely not feeling 100%. And those times during the season where you are doubting yourself, that's where you need a coach to kind of bring you back to earth and say, hey, you remember how to wrestle. You've been wrestling your whole life. Let's simplify things. Let's dumb it down, and let's just stick to what you're good at. And you see it with Philippi. He can win with some of the technique that he has. Going back to what I said earlier, it's nothing extravagant technique. He just mastered it.
You mentioned Philippi being, jumping onto the map a couple years ago, and since then he's had pretty much nothing but success You see the longest active win streaks among ACC wrestlers right there. And Philippi inching up close, and that's some company to keep right there. You talk about a guy like Mekhi Lewis and his win streak, redshirted all of last year getting ready for the Olympics, which of course didn't happen. And then Hayden Hidley, who's an ACC champion in his own right. Austin O'Connor, an ACC champion. It's just ACC champions up and down the board, just tearing down the competition. That's the type of stuff you want to see.
Yeah, on that list, you could see 4 or 5 national champs there. Just in the ACC.
So Philippi just inching over top of that 1 minute mark, and he will get the advantage point. So a 4-1 victory for Mickey Philippi, his 19th consecutive win. See his last loss coming January 1st last year. Philippi giving the Panthers a 6-0 lead over the number 14 Tar Heels. Panthers trying to pull a small upset on their home mat. We've talked all night long about how we're going to see a bunch of returning ACC champions from a year ago. We just saw one in Mickey Philippi. He picked up a win in a decision, but we're going to see 4 more as we move throughout tonight. Zach Sherman at 141 pounds. He's coming up next right here. Still to come, obviously, O'Connor, Wenzel, and Lau. And Sherman's got a tough match tonight here at Pitt with Cole Matthews. Number 11 against number 17. Highly experienced wrestlers, as you can see. Zach Sherman, a 2-time NCAA qualifier, had a loss last weekend to number 11, Tariq Wilson. And, of course, Tariq Wilson was the guy that he beat a year ago to win an ACC championship. Zach Sherman, the reigning ACC champ.
I'd like to have Sherman, Matthews, and Wilson just a round robin. I feel like all their matches are crazy.
Well, that was crazy right there. Basically, Matthews, Coach Gavin, he raved about Matthews' strength. He just almost walked Sherman across the mat, as right now Sherman's trying to get a tilt.
That's a big almost takedown right there. It's a missed opportunity. You don't get many opportunities when you have you're wrestling, an 11th ranked guy. So you really have to capitalize on that. And I love this matchup because you have Matthews, who's kind of a little bit short and stocky, has a little bit of a Russian style. So what I mean by that is he's square, and he kind of wrestles. He doesn't react a whole lot. You see, he's not a ton of movement. He's a little bit square stance. And Sherman, he has a little bit more staggered stance. He has a lot of these fakes, level changes. So stylistically, the 2 different matchups. And that's why this one's going to be fun.
Both of these guys with the potential to go deep into NCAAs and obviously with the potential to win an ACC championship. And I like how you bring up the difference in styles. And I think if you throw in Tariq Wilson into that in the ACC conversation, all 3 of those guys have drastically different styles, and it's just so interesting to watch all these guys compete against each other week in, week out.
Yeah, styles make for fun. They make for fun matchups, and we're in for a treat for this one right here. This is definitely one of the matches I had for, potential match of the night. And a lot of implications here, too. I mean, you have Tariq Wilson, who has beaten both of these guys so far this season, so you imagine he gets the number 1 seed at ACC. So then, we have followed, 2 and 3, and those will be on the same side of the bracket. So whoever gets stuck with the 4 seed is going to have Wilson probably in the semis, I'm assuming. So, going back, Kevin, you asked me a question about the shortened season. You're only having 6-8 matches this season, so every match you have to capitalize. And it could play in the favor of the lower ranked wrestler. If you ranked in the 20s, let's say, for example, and you get an upset against a teen ranked wrestler or even top 10, you just set yourself up tremendously with such a short season because you would jump in the ranks so fast. See Matthews here, the head outside, right high crotch. Try to get across and cover the hips, try to work his hips to the right here, but Sherman squared up, hips down to the mat, and really just broke Matthews' grip.
He tries it again here, and he might have hurt himself. Sherman does get awarded the escape. Matthews grimaced immediately as soon as he went down.
Yeah, he kind of backed off while Sherman was in midair.
Well, I guess you know, this is the risk you run when you try to pick guys up like Cole Matthews is doing tonight.
It's so much weight, and he's popping with his hips on all that, his right leg there.
Yeah, I think you see it. You see it. Watch it here.
Yep.
You see it kind of spin inward there for a moment, and that's exactly when he let his grip just let up right there.
Yeah. They're checking out his knee right now. They heard a little pop or a little click. It was a strange reaction.
Let's take one more look here. Of course, he picks him up, and watch the right knee as he finally gets Sherman into the air. Matthews' right knee right here just kind of turns inward ever so slightly.
Mm-hmm.
That is what trainer Brian Bonner is checking out right now.
If you're Matthews here, I mean, how do you bounce back, right? You're in a 1-0 match. You're neutral now. Well, actually, Sherman's going to get the choice because Matthews, had injury time. So that's a newer role within the past couple years. So Sherman now gets to choose what position he wants. He's going to choose down, assuming he can get an escape and earn that point, go up 2-0. Keep an eye on that right knee of Matthews. See if he's pushing off it. See if he's utilizing it now. Seems like he is right now. Maybe it'll warm up and, just maybe it'll loosen up as the match goes on.
Yeah, he went right to it. Didn't waste any time. And doing a nice job right now holding on to Sherman. Sherman trying to peel the hands. Matthews' strength on display right now. And they're not going to give him the escape either. And this is a moment you mentioned, maybe it heats up a little bit, that knee. And this is a moment where a dual meet environment with the fans being here really could let that adrenaline fuel you. And right now he doesn't have that. So he's got to find that motivation to push through the next couple of minutes of this match.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, and you don't want to let your opponent know that you're injured either, right? So if you're out here limping around and showing some weakness, your opponent, I guarantee they're going to try to attack that wounded area for sure. So, he's battling through a lot right now. He also just made weight. We have to give him credit. He made weight about an hour ago too. So that was one of the things that I was looking forward to trying to understand, getting the minds of these wrestlers. You're making weight in an hour, and then you're coming into a semi-dead atmosphere or lesser than what they're used to. So how do you get that excitement when you're already feeling depleted from cutting weight? And it's interesting because everyone's going to react differently.
It's a tall task against Sherman as well. Sherman with the 2-0 lead right now in the second period. Mentioned that he's a two-time NCAA qualifier. Had the NCAA championship happened last year, Sherman would have gone on to be an 11 seed. Of course, was an ACC champion. Had a 27-5 record and 6 wins over other guys who also qualified for NCAAs during the regular season. So he's used to these ranked matchups coming in dual meet season. So are you surprised a little bit that, Sherman, it seemed like those guys were kind of roundabout for the last minute or so there, and you would think that Sherman would want to dive in at that right leg a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think with Sherman, he had the lead, so he has a 2-0 lead right now, and you're kind of winding down the last 30 seconds of the second period. I don't know if he just didn't feel it out there or what, but I don't think he had a need to really force anything. Going into the third period, now we're 2-1, so it's a takedown away. And now this is where we want to see. Now we get to see Matthews turn up some offense. And, what I mentioned before, he's a very dangerous counter wrestler. What I mean by that is he can score off of your shot, his opponent's shot, or any of his opponent's movements. And he may not have the opportunity to display that because he's down. So look for him to open his offense up here. Look for Sherman to kind of, you know, I don't know what Sherman's game plan is here. There's two options. I mean, you go out and get another takedown, put the match away, or you kind of control ties, circle, control the middle of the mat, and try to, you know, hold on to a 2-1 lead.
1 minute remaining in the third period.
Pitt with a 6-0 lead in the duel after winning at 125 and 133. So Sherman trying to push the score and tilt it toward UNC a bit. Keith Gavin told us before the match that Cole Matthews, among all his guys on the roster this year, did the most work in the offseason physically, and he thought that this was a year where Cole Matthews could really take a step, not only in the ACCs, but on the national scale.
Little flurry here. See, Matthews got to follow this up now, right? There's a lot of motion right now, a lot of unbalance from Sherman. Now's Matthews' chance to continue to chain wrestle, put a couple moves together.
There was a stall warning there on Sherman as he loses his headgear.
You see Gavin over there hand signaling a high crotch. Matthews goes for the gator roll. He just didn't have it tight enough. You see his grip on the chin, his hand that was on the chin started to slip off. And without the chin, you can't turn the head in that move, and the body's not going to get turned.
And he tried again, and he just lost the grip on the head once again. So Sherman gets a quick 2-point takedown in the third period and wins by decision. Second career win over Matthews. Zach Sherman, 4th win of the year, 11/17. Back with you at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, and we have a treat for you at 149 pounds. Number 1, Austin O'Connor for the Tar Heels. A glimmering career record, a 2-time All-American, including last year, was supposed to be the number 2 seed at Nationals. Sporting a new hairdo as well, bringing the confidence to the mat against Pitt's Luke Kemmerer. This should be really, really fun. O'Connor, a guy that starts fast and ends fast, Anthony.
Yeah, look for him to get right to his attacks, as he's already has Kemmerer a little bit on his heels. Strong, powerful level change fakes, really get his opponent reacting. And if I'm O'Connor here and I'm down, you know, UNC's down by 3 after 3 matches, his mind has to be, and Coach Scott's, has to be on bonus points.
Yeah, at this point with a 6-3 lead for Pitt, you know, we're kind of cruising right along through exactly how you thought this duel was going to go, Anthony, so far. Right now, obviously, the easy pick would be number 1, Austin O'Connor, over an unranked Luke Kemmerer. So for O'Connor, you know, we know that he starts fast, but if you're thinking about the duel score, what are you thinking here? I mean, you need pin as far as, you know, North Carolina's chances to win this duel, because it's very, very tight the rest of the way.
You need pin, but you can't just go out there and try to pin the guy right off the bat sometimes. You know, like, this is NCAA Division I wrestling. Everyone's going to fight. Yeah, everyone's tough out here. So, you know, strategy might be to, you know, get a couple points, get the flow of your match going, and wear down your opponent a little bit. You know, get them a little bit tired, open them up a little bit, and then you can start to work your pinning combinations.
See, that's an interesting thing to me, is that knowing, like, I'm Austin O'Connor, for example, right? I got a number 1 next to my name. I know my team needs a fall out of me, and you're telling me that my approach should not be to go out there and just take it to the guy right away?
Well, you wanna make sure you get the win first, right? The name of the game is to put points on the board and ultimately get the pin, but Kemmerer is no slouch. He's strong as an ox also, so he's not going to just fold over. We saw Kemmerer. I believe it was NC State. His match, he went upper body about 3-4 times, and you saw his strength there. So, you know, if I'm Kemmerer, I got to get this match. I have to get this match opened up a little bit. I have to open up Kemmerer, you know, maybe wear him down a tad, and then I can start to look for some pinning combinations. I mean, we're 2 minutes in and it's 0-0. So in retrospect, I mean, right now, Kemmer is doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, from the other perspective, for sure, as you see Coleman Scott on the right of your screen, starting to get into it a little bit.
A little bit of the John Smith approach.
Coleman was not happy about that. Neither was Austin O'Connor.
Nah, it looked like the ref blew a stalemate call right as O'Connor tried to do a throw by, an offensive move. But there wasn't a ton of action going on there. O'Connor back to the front headlock, and Kemmer, he needs to get out of there.
O'Connor with the first 2 points of the match as time expires in the first.
Here's O'Connor in a front headlock, headed to the side, and he's just gonna shuck his right shoulder left and move his body in the opposite direction to the right. And a little shuck by O'Connor late in the first period.
We talked about the scheduling through COVID and everything, and last week North Carolina had 2 top 8 teams come in and face them. NC State followed right away by Virginia Tech on back-to-back days, and O'Connor, of course, winning both of his matches. The bigger one coming against Bryce Andonian, who was an upstart freshman last year, and he actually beat him to earn the ACC championship last year. Won an 11-4 decision last Saturday against Andonian.
Yeah, and with a shortened season, if you're competing for a national title, the only way to be tested for nationals is to wrestle good competition. So, you know, these coaches and these athletes are seeking tough matches. They're craving it. They need it for their development, to get to March.
A season ago, Austin O'Connor was 25-1 as he's trying to get a tilt here, and he will get a count.
Yeah, you saw a nice headlock.
Getting close now.
Set that up there.
Kemmer fighting for his dear life right now. O'Connor's strength coming into play. Kemmer trying to roll out of it. And that's it. There's the fall for O'Connor. Comes about 4 minutes in. A win by fall, and that's exactly what North Carolina needed in the duel. And O'Connor, a bonus point master, picking up some more for the Tar Heels. 157 coming up next. You're taking a look here at Jake Wenzel sporting the new anthracite gray Panther head singlets. Man, these are sharp. I got to tell you, you saw these for the Pitt football team back in the fall, and every Pitt team, it seems, is kind of bringing something out with this color scheme. But these singlets are sharp. And Anthony, you said, you know, you're a Pitt alum, former Pitt great. You didn't have singlets like this when you were out there. You had the block pit stuff, man.
Yeah, we didn't have all the fancy stuff, you know, but it's cool. They're definitely switching it up, some new styles. Maybe a whole new brand here that Pitt's got going for them. It's exciting, a new age for sure. That was a funny picture. They have to definitely pick the most jack guy on the team to model the new singlet, huh?
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's selective choosing, I think, when you're trying to do a photo shoot for singlets.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those things fit tight.
Oh, yeah. They're not the most comfortable things in the world. Got a little scramble going on. Now, typically the guy, so what if I'm a coach here and you hear the coach saying, get height, get height. You want to get your head higher than your opponents. You want to be higher than your opponent, right? The guy with height wins. So right now, McClure has some of the height. He's got the pressure going into Badgett. Got a little knee tangle there, so out of bounds.
Josh McClure, the redshirt senior for North Carolina, against Tyler Badgett, a freshman, true freshman. McClure at 2-2 on the season from Fulton, Missouri. NCAA qualifier a couple years ago in 2019.
McClure back to the same shot, an ankle pick, cross body. And then we have Badgett to the same position. And look for Badgett to turn. He's trying to be offensive here. He lost the wrist. He's giving up the leg right now. Now he's on his hip.
That's a 2-point takedown for McClure. Takedown on Badgett out of San Diego. Rare San Diego, or just California in general, recruit coming east. I got to tell you, it's like 15 degrees in Pittsburgh today. I don't know why, if you're from California, you come to Pittsburgh, but Tyler Badgett's a confident man, I guess. Daring guy.
Lives life on the edge.
It's about as warm as California would be up here on the balcony tonight, I'll tell you that.
Yes, it is. Now McClure, look, McClure, he's about 6 foot. He's a tall and lanky wrestler, and those tall, lanky wrestlers love riding legs on top. So he went right leg in, and you see his right toe. You know, he's opening up the right hips of Badgett, and in order to do that, he has some really good hip pressure. And it's just not comfortable to be a bottom wrestler flat on the mat with your leg in.
So 4 back points on the near fall awarded to McClure. So he had a couple of tilts in there.
Yeah, now it's 6-0, almost, you know, just about 7-0 with riding time right now. They're looking for bonus points.
This is just sheer experience from McClure, a 5th-year guy against a true freshman in collegiate wrestling. It's a hard match.
Yeah, you see his right toe hook his left leg. It really pries the hips open towards the ceiling. That allows the hips to open, followed by the shoulders to open. Exposes back for back points. Nice swim move there by McClure. You see Badgett try to return the favor and throw some legs in and ride legs on top. As soon as McClure felt those legs come in, a beautiful swim move, swung the right arm up and hit the mat, and Badgett fell right off.
We're at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse in Pittsburgh. Anthony Zanetta and Kevin Wheeler with you tonight. 8-0 McClure at 157 pounds. The duel at 9-6 after Austin O'Connor's pin at 149 of Luke Kemmerer. Riding time in this match ticking down toward a minute.
Look how far Badgett's left hip is off the mat. I mean, that's credit to McClure. Just that's leg riding 101. His hips are in. He's prying those hips off the mat, and that's painful. It is not fun to be down there. Same move here for McClure, and he's going to get more back points.
He's got a 2 count so far, and he'll stop right there. McClure at 52-30 in his career, and of course Badgett only 6 collegiate matches under his belt so far, and you just got to think, you know, well, where was McClure all this time? You know, he didn't wrestle last year because he was wrestling behind AC Headley. You know, he didn't wrestle in championships and things like that, but AC Headley, 3rd in ACCs, went to the NCAAs as well, had it happen. But McClure in the background was 22-5. And he only had 2 reps in dual meets, so it's interesting. He worked up a lot of experience over his career, and now he finally gets his chance to be the starter.
Yeah.
We're nearing a tech fall here as we get to the 3rd period, 14-0 McClure.
Yeah, no. First back points again, same move. He kind of baits Badgett. As soon as Badgett postures up, he has the head and arm and just sucks him right back into his hips.
Shot from Badgett easily turned away by McClure.
Kevin, going back to that previously point, right, McClure's a talented wrestler. Well, we haven't seen him, and he's a 5th-year senior. That just tells me, and that should tell everybody, how competitive and how good you have to be to compete at this level. I mean, look at Badgett. I mean, look at all these guys. These are guys who are state champs in high school, you know, highly talented wrestlers, highly recruited, and then you may not get a shot until your senior season. So that just goes to show you how deep some of these rosters are, and how, you know, how tough it is to just break the lineup, and just to break the lineup.
Yeah, the depth is key. I mean, McClure's no slouch, of course. He was an NCAA qualifier 2 years ago, but in terms of last season, just to show that he had somebody competing ahead of him is something else. He's angling for a tech fall here. We'll see if Badgett can maybe get some points on the board. He's got to get that leg out.
It's a big takedown here. Bigger than you'd think. I think Pitt needs every point they can get, so a takedown here would be huge, and maybe try to ride out the rest of the match and hold off the tech. Now you see McClure posture up, and that's what he needed to better his position. He's going to drive towards his head, try to cross face. See his left palm coming under the face. Going to try to hip over. There it is.
There's the tech fall. Just beautiful wrestling on the mat by McClure, taking advantage of the true freshman in Badgett. McClure gets the tech fall win. And of course, North Carolina holding on to their dual meet lead right now, 14-6 in favor of the Tar Heels. On Friday Night Duels coming from Pittsburgh and the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. Stick with us, heavyweights coming up next. Welcome back to Friday Night Duels at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. 14-6 on the ACC network, 14/15 through 5 matches. And tonight at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, it's the final duel for the Pitt Panthers in this regular season. So, of course, that means senior night as you see Keith Gavin with his guys. And Anthony, we talked about this off air a little bit. Not a ton of fans or anybody really here in the building, some family inside the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, but it's got to be a crazy feeling to have your senior night basically in front of only your family and a few select friends. Insane thing in this pandemic we're dealing with.
Yeah, it's tough with 2,000 fans. Yeah, senior night's bittersweet for any athlete, let alone the circumstances today.
And of course, there's an extra year of eligibility, so you might be able to see some of these guys come back for another year. Who knows? So let's take a look at the match recap so far. Of course, it's 14-6 in favor of North Carolina, but Philippi, the ranked wrestler for Pitt in 133, got things going, Anthony.
Yeah, Philippi coming out strong. Moving on to Zach Sherman.
This was at 141. Sherman, 11th ranked over Cole Matthews, 17th ranked. And tight one here as Matthews even hurt his knee at one point and persevered through the rest of the match. But Sherman, you see the 2-point takedown there to seal it for him in a 4-1 decision. Then a potential national champion in Austin O'Connor at 149, just of course inflicting his will and dealing with Luke Hemmer the way that we thought he might. By fall, comes right there. That flipped the script in the duel in favor of North Carolina 9-6. Then we move on to 157 and what really was kind of a surprise in terms of the score, but as you said, this is kind of Josh McClure as a man against Tyler Badgett as a boy here. 4 years difference between these two wrestlers, and it showed as McClure shut out Badgett and earned the tech fall for more bonus points in favor of North Carolina. There's the results right there, and you said it earlier, in a duel like this, it could be so tight where maybe these matches split 5-5, the bonus points are going to prove pivotal, and they have so far.
Yeah, and that's really been the big difference here in the first 5. We'll see if Pitt can bounce back with some bonus points of their own.
Let's take a look a year ago at ACC Championships. Jake Wenzel, Kennedy Monday at 165 pounds, and man, what a match it was. It was tight all the way to the end, and it was Wenzel with a 2-point takedown late that turned him into the home rep ACC champion over Kennedy Monday. They have split their 2 matchups last year. This was the second of the 2. Wenzel got the better of Monday in the second one. Monday took him down in the first matchup last year, but Wenzel got the better of him. You see a ton of experience between these two redshirt seniors. We're talking 10 years of collegiate wrestling experience between these two guys, and this was our match of the night.
And another stylistic, fun matchup. We got Wenzel body lock, upper body, and there he has it. That's his go-to. He's comfortable there, and that's not a comfortable position for a lot of wrestlers. You're very upright, you're off balance, kind of anyone's game when both guys are kind of bear hugging each other.
9 versus 11 Monday against Wenzel. Wenzel with a 2-0 lead. the quick takedown. And that's what he really needed to do against Monday. You know, Keith Gavin said to us that the way Jake Wenzel wins this match is he doesn't allow Kennedy Monday to operate with space between the two guys. You talk about a quick takedown, it comes 20 seconds in. There's no space between those two guys.
I mean, here's space, and then you see what Monday's capable of doing. Wenzel kind of just hipped up at the very last second, and bear hugged, got his feet off the mat, and just continued to drive forward.
You know what that looked like to me from Monday right off the whistles? It looked like a guy who remembered losing in an ACC championship match a week ago or a year ago.
Oh, yeah, there's some history here, and that's why this is a fun one.
We asked Coleman Scott, like, is it something for Monday where you think he remembers that? And he's like, of course. Like, wrestlers remember all this stuff. You're not going to forget.
Yeah, and it's a little different than other sports because it's just you two, so it's almost, you could say it's more personal. This is where Wenzel wants to be. This is where he's most comfortable. This is where he really breaks guys. He rides them out. He has a ton of pressure, and he cranks on your shoulders. You see, he's a physical wrestler, right? That bone right where your forearm is probably right up in Monday's nose right now. It's uncomfortable.
Wenzel riding successfully over a minute. Controlling Kennedy Monday right now at the mat level.
Pitt's looking for back points here. And the comfort that Wenzel has with legs in a crab ride position where he's kind of on his back in a way, the comfort and confidence you have to have in your ability it's daunting in a way. Like right here, right? Wenzel, for some viewers out there, it may not look like Wenzel's in a great position, but he's comfortable and confident here. And to hold your composure in a match while you're basically almost on your back, I mean, that speaks of his skill set.
Wenzel doing a great job on top right now. You see just the subtle movements like that, Anthony. What does that do if you're on the bottom, you can't get out, you can't squeeze your leg out, and you just got this guy hand fighting the back of your head? What does that do to you as a bottom wrestler?
Well, I'll tell you what it does is you have a game plan, and then it just destroys your game plan, right? Because you have 3 minutes, and Monday's best position is neutral, right? So you have to wrestle in your best position. Neutral is where Monday scores points, and he doesn't even have the opportunity to do that right now. So it's Wenzel's match so far.
Wenzel, an All-American a year ago, an ACC champion, NCAA qualifier, was set to be the number 11 seed at the NCAA tournament had it happened. You see in the ACC championship final, took down David McFadden. You talk about McFadden being favored at 165. There wasn't a guy out there that thought that McFadden wasn't going to take the championship at 165. And here comes Wenzel, beats Monday. Monday was the 1 seed, takes him down in the semis, and moves right on and bowls through McFadden in tight matches. Really kind of the unsung story of ACC championships a year ago with Wenzel.
Prime example of peaking at the right time in a confident wrestler. And when you have those two things together, you know, the sky's the limit.
Wenzel didn't have a great end to his regular season last year. He had lost 3 of his last 4 regular season matches, but he got to ACCs and ran the table.
Yep, so you could say, you know, it doesn't even matter until ACCs. That's the unique thing about this sport is you have all season, and until it's ACCs, that's what these guys are worried about. Wenzel's in trouble here. Uh-oh, a little crucifix by Wenzel, and you see the ref counting. He has position. He's holding Monday down. Wow, what an exchange.
So 2 near falls to Wenzel, and then Monday wraps it up with a takedown, and now they're on the ground again. More back points coming for Monday.
Monday just beautifully done. He went to go cut Wenzel, and as soon as Wenzel was getting up, he saw his head and his knee close, and he locked up a cradle. What a change of events. What a turn of events right here. Wenzel's got to fight the hands. He's got to break that lock. Until he breaks that lock, he's in trouble. And now what Monday's doing is tightening this cradle up. You see his right knee go behind the leg. Looks like Wenzel could maybe break out of this right now.
Second period winding down, and you can hear the energy coming from both benches. We told you this was the match of the night. It's living up to it. What an exchange in the second period.
Yeah, you see he went to go cut Wenzel, and Wenzel really didn't react. He kept his knee and his head too close. And with Monday, his body he's got an enormous wingspan. He can lock up those cradles from anywhere. We'll see where cardio comes into now. I see Monday breathing a little heavy. Wenzel's breathing a little heavy. These guys are tired, and this is where the fun starts now, right? You see Monday standing up, taking big, deep breaths, hands on his knees, not in great position. Wenzel should take note of this and take advantage of it, but maybe Wenzel's tired too. Not a whole lot of action.
So, Anthony, I'm just going to ask this. I missed the 2 points from Wenzel there, and he's up 7-6 now. I didn't see the ref award them to him, but did you see it when the period broke?
I believe the 2 points, and I could be wrong because that whole exchange was...
There's a lot of points awarded there,
yeah. And my brain was just kind of churning and churning. But
well, if yours was, then mine definitely was.
I'm not positive. I know he had Monday on his back for a 3 count. So that is you are awarded 2 points when that happens, even from a neutral position, even if you don't get the takedown. But
just happened that fast.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So right now, Wenzel has the riding time point in his advantage as well. And 49 seconds to go in the match. So he just has to kind of hold this out here, and he could lock up the riding time point. And that'll do it right there. He's got the riding time point now. So technically Wenzel, even though it's not on the board, has a 2-point lead over Monday. So Monday needs a takedown here in the last 30 seconds of the third period at 165, our match of the night.
Yeah, now if I'm Wenzel, I have to just control the ties. I have to stay in the center of the mat, and this is where Wenzel's comfortable. He's comfortable in the upper body position, and there it is. He's gonna wrap up the match now.
9-6 Wenzel, call it 10-6. The pit bench exploded after that takedown from Wenzel. The same holds true as it did a year ago at ACC Championships. Jake Wenzel with a decision on his home mat against Kennedy Monday. Number 11 takes down number 9. And the Panthers are back in the duel. Carolina with a 14-9 lead. Wenzel victorious on this Friday night duel. Well, next week we got another Friday night duels coming at you as they continue with number 15 Pitt heading to Blacksburg. They take on number 8 Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech undefeated in duels this year. That comes to you at 6 p.m. on the ACC Network. 10 ranked wrestlers, Anthony, will take the mat for that particular Friday night duel. But we got a good one right now. 14-9 in the duel, North Carolina over Pittsburgh. And we got 4 weight classes left. We're up to 174 pounds. Clay Lout, number 19 in the country, taking on Jared McGill. And this thing, suddenly with the Wenzel win over Monday, this thing got interesting.
Yeah, we're Pitt's back in it for sure. I got to rattle off. I know Pitt's getting into the meat of their lineup here in the upper weights, so it'll be interesting.
Man, the match of the night, it lived up to expectations. That was the most fun match we've had tonight so far at 165.
That was fun. A lot of points, a lot of action, a lot of rolling around, scrambling. That's what we want to watch.
Kevin Wheeler, Anthony Zanetta with you tonight for Friday Night Duels at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. This is a big match here, and I know you thought Clay Lout, ACC champion last year, but you thought that McGill could maybe pull off an upset here. What does he have to do that?
I think he has to stay, to his offense and wrestle his match. Here's a freshman going against an upperclassman who's ranked top 20. This should be an opportunity for him that he needs to capitalize on. I mean, if I'm a freshman and I have a top 20 opponent and it's a shortened season, you need to wrestle outside of almost what you're capable of. You have to wrestle to the what your opponent's going to give you. There's a good opportunity for him. Here's Laut, hips down, and beautiful chain wrestling. You see him sprawl, and he just doesn't sprawl and stops. He sprawls and continues to circle, chase the angle, chase the hamstring, and he never stops moving.
Clay Laut is a part of a set of siblings, Clay and Cade Laut, on this North Carolina squad. 3 different sets of brothers, Anthony, on this particular team. Coleman Scott recruiting within the family. Devin Kane, who we're expected to see at 184 next, and Gavin Kane, Gabriel Tagg, and Julian Tagg. Julian Tagg has wrestled quite a bit at 125 this year, and this is it's just a cool thing to see, his brothers going to North Carolina and keeping a family tradition alive.
Oh yeah, that's it means the coaches at UNC are doing something right with the older siblings, right? And that's cool because when I was wrestling at Pitt, we had a similar situation. We had the Tasser brothers, we had the Thomasite brothers, the Wilps brothers.
The Zanetta brothers?
The Zanetta brothers were part of that. So, yeah, I mean, and if you're a coach, you want to keep that that loophole alive, right?
Yeah.
You're just gaining recruits. You don't even have to go and spend a ton of time and get on a plane and travel to their homes and sweet talk them. But that's a testament to the coaches, right?
Well, what better recruiter than your brother, right? Like I'm sure when Nick was deciding to go to Pitt, you were in his ear quite a bit, I'm sure.
I let him make his own decision. Obviously wanted him to go to Pitt, but at the end of the day, he had to do what's best for him. But I think in his mind, he knew Pitt was a spot for him.
Well, I don't know if Nick Zanetta is watching this particular broadcast right now, but I feel like he may give you some flack later for not calling out his name as a brother recruit.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I'll be getting a text message right now, actually.
Well, I'll give him the opportunity. I'll give you the flack on the air for that.
There you go.
Laut centering back in here with a 2-1 lead over McGill as the first period comes to an end. So Laut was kind of a surprise ACC champion last year. He did it at 174 pounds, ended up being an NWCA honorable mention All-American as well, and he beat Greg Harvey of Pitt. Greg Harvey was the 1 seed in the semifinal for the ACC championship last year, and Laut came in and took him down on his home mat at the Peterson Event Center in ACC championships. And this year, Laut was actually wrestling up quite a bit at 184. The 19 rank actually comes from wrestling at 184. He's ranked 19th in the 184-pound class. He slid down tonight to 174. Him and Kane are kind of interchangeable between 174 and 184. Greg Harvey, for the Pitt side, he's moving up to 184. So we expect to see Kane and Harvey and 184 coming up next. Laut trying to ride over a minute, but look at that. McGill gets out just in time. Oh, no. My apologies. A 101. So 1 second over on the riding time in favor of Clay Laut, but we're tied up at 2 right now.
Now, if I'm McGill here, I have to try to switch a little bit of the momentum here, right? Start to get Laut to react to some of my fakes, right? Let him know I'm in this match. I'm a takedown away from taking the lead, and I want to see a little bit more hand fighting between McGill here, just because, and I'm talking about McGill just because let's say he is the underdog here. He's less experienced, so that's why I have a little bit more focus on McGill. But he's a freshman. He should be going out and throwing the kitchen sink at Laut. Nothing to lose, and opportunity for him to maybe even get in the rankings and find a spot to nationals. So if I'm him, I want to increase my intensity, increase my motion, increase my number of fakes, maybe even increase my, shot attempts, my attack attempts, and he's setting it up. We're seeing a little bit more of that. Lau is really good at these chain wrestling moves. He's putting a couple back-to-back. He's fun to watch.
Loud had a tough match last week against number 2, Hunter Bolin, lost that 8-3. So he's from Kansas, 3-time state champ, an All-American ACC champion last year. And this is the second time he's been bleeding out of his nose. You saw a little gauze up in the left nostril for Lout. Lout 1-1 on the year. Redshirt junior going up against McGill, the redshirt freshman. How much of a luxury do you think it is for Coleman Scott to be able to say, you know, Clay Lout and Devin Kane within a week of each other? You know, Lout wrestled at 184 and Kane at 174 last week, and now they've totally flipped here. Within a week, they're able to fluctuate like that, and basically he can interchange them wherever.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I'm not positive how they're doing that, but and more power to you if they are.
Near the boundary, there's going to be a stalling on McGill, so he was trying to maintain control.
So McGill get a little bit desperate, you know, got hit for stalling there. If you don't return your opponent within 5 seconds, you get hit for stalling there. And you saw McGill try to desperately mat return Lout, and he ended up with his butt on the mat. And in that position, you know, you have no power.
Minute and a half to go in the third, standing at neutral position. Only 30 seconds of riding time in favor of Lout. So we do have a 1-point match here. So McGill looking for a takedown late in the 174-pound match.
Yep, and I like how Loud is still showing some offense out here. Now, if I'm McGill, against Loud, upperclassman, maybe a little bit stronger, you know, highly ranked. One shot, one move is probably not going to be enough, especially with 45 seconds, and you see it there.
There's a takedown for Lout, who's pulled those arms down and shot around.
See Lout glance up at the clock, 30 seconds to go.
He's certainly going to try and ride this out. If he holds, he can gain an extra point. McGill doing a nice job fighting back to his feet, trying to spin around.
Yep, switch attempt, standing switch attempt. You know, throwing a few things out there, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
(14-9) in the duel. North Carolina looking like a decision at 174 to make it 17-9. Barring anything crazy happening in the last 8 seconds of this match. And the riding time point goes to Lout. Moves him to 2-1 on the year. And that makes it 17-9 in favor of North Carolina. We're trucking along here in Pittsburgh. Harvey and Kane coming up next. Well, it's Friday Night Duels, and there's even more ACC wrestling action tonight coming up over on the ACC Network at 8 p.m. A matchup of unbeatens in dual meets. Number 3, NC State. Number 8, Virginia Tech. A must-watch match. The match of the night in that one is at 184 pounds. Second-ranked Hunter Bolin of Virginia Tech, and fourth-ranked Trent Hidley for the Wolfpack. But obviously, tons of ranked wrestlers up and down those lineups. Check that out on the Friday Night Duels on the ACC Network, coming up at 8 in about 45 minutes. Here in Pittsburgh on the Friday Night Duel, Devin Kane of North Carolina and Greg Harvey at 184 pounds. Pitt with some work to do if they want to hold their own. Carolina 17-9 advantage as we enter the upper weights. Mentioned it before, but Greg Harvey competed at 174 pounds last year, was the 1 seed heading into the ACC championship. Clay Lout upset him in semis. This year, Greg Harvey moving up as a redshirt senior to 184 pounds. He has competed there in years past. He even wrestled up to 197 back in 2017-18. So he's used to this. Devin Kane, the senior out of Milton, Georgia. He didn't wrestle last year, but was an NCAA qualifier 2 years ago. Devin Kane made it into NCAA's 2 years ago, Anthony, as the 33 seed, and he won 4 matches there.
It's impressive. He was the last guy in the bracket, being number 33, in 4 matches. That'll get you, I believe, to the round of 12, maybe if not All-American. Then I think that goes to show you anything can happen at nationals, and that's the fun part.
Recently, Devin Kane has had some tough competition. Last week on Friday night, lost to number 11 Daniel Bullard of NC State. And then he was upset the next night by Virginia Tech's Dakota Howard. And Howard this week, as a result of that win, ended up being the ACC Wrestler of the Week.
Harvey's doing a great job of hand fighting. A lot of in and out, a lot of forward pressure followed by snaps, right? Great down block by Harvey. You see him absorb the shot, right? He has so much good forward pressure, and he's controlling his opponent so well that he's able to absorb and feel the shot even before it happens. And that comes from, a beautiful ankle pick. Sidestep outside the ankle pick, and doesn't stay down there. He comes right up. And ankle picks don't come easy. They don't come like that. I think that move, of course it's an ankle pick, but you'll see it here. This ankle pick, he's going to step to the right. This is a different clip. He absorbs the shot, down block. Here it comes. He switches his head from the left side to the right side so he can get to the right ankle and lowers his level. And the beautiful thing is he does not stay down there once he gets the ankle. He comes right up to his feet.
Kane gets out for 1. Riding time at 25 in favor of Harvey.
See Harvey push, pull, push, pull. That wears and wears and wears on the opponent.
Carolina, number 14 in the country this year, and it's led by that guy, Coleman Scott. And the wrestling accolades speak for themselves. You can talk all you want about this guy as a coach, but you see what he did at Oklahoma State. 4-time All-American, NCAA champion back in 2008. Of course, wrestled in the world circuit. Earned a bronze medal back in 2012 at the Olympics. He actually wrestled with Keith Gavin on the world circuit. Those guys were actually roommates at one point. Once upon a time, in their younger years, those two guys spent a lot of time together. There's Keith Gavin and his wrestling accolades. He was also an NCAA champion a few years prior at 174 pounds. Spent a lot of time with the U.S. national team. Coleman Scott's still involved in USA Wrestling a little bit, as he's the U.S. women's freestyle national coach. Something he said he wanted to do to try and expand his mind and take on a new challenge, make him a better coach. These two guys have their programs really at the top, in the upper echelon of not only the ACC, but nationals, these two teams are ranked year in and year out now.
Yeah, and you'll probably, with the coaching staffs that these teams have, you'll see them continue to stay high in the rankings and get the recruits from out of state and all that. So as long as they're there and the staff is there, I see these two teams having a lot of success in the future and beyond.
And Coleman Scott, Waynesburg native.
Yep.
Just a short stone's throw away here from the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse.
Yep, and Waynesburg High School, of course, a really wrestling-rich and tradition-rich area for wrestling. A lot of good talent out there.
Of course, Drew Headley, the Pitt assistant coach, also from Waynesburg. And Keith Gavin had a funny line when he was talking about Coleman Scott. We asked Keith, do you see a lot of John Smith in Coleman Scott in the way that he coaches on the sidelines, how animated he is? He said, yeah, absolutely. I think that anybody that goes to Oklahoma State ends up taking some traits from John Smith and what they saw for years. He's like, I think at this point, Coleman Scott, he's from Waynesburg, but he somehow has like an Oklahoma accent or something. And he's like, I rib him about that all the time. And it's just funny, the relationship between those guys and kind of the way that they can poke at each other. It makes it fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You love to see that.
Look at Coleman Scott. You ever see a coach just like crouch down behind their chair? It's like he doesn't want to watch.
Intense at all times. Nice takedown from Kane there, and the most important thing is in the last 15 seconds of the period.
Big takedown at the end of the second period. Let's watch Coleman Scott here. It's great stuff.
He's wrestling in his own mind.
He's pointing to his own mind. Is what would Coleman do here?
See, these takedowns that are happening in the last 10, 12 seconds of the period they have to be so frustrating for a coach, because that just changed the entire game plan for the third period. Harvey now needs a takedown, whereas he would actually have the lead now. So the last 10 seconds you could say they're the most important, the most important section of a period. It changes everything. But props to Kane, because now he's in a position where he has the lead and put himself in a position to win.
North Carolina with the lead in the duel, and they desperately need one right now, as they've lost their last two, of course, with two tough ones last week coming against NC State and Virginia Tech. Both of those teams unbeaten in dual meet play, and both Pitt and North Carolina sitting at 1-2 apiece.
As blood time is in favor of Kane. So Kane is the one who's bleeding, but you see Harvey have so much good motion, and he's the one out there making Kane react, and he's doing the work. You see Kane just got hit for stalling, and Harvey's picking up steam. Kane is holding on now. Kane's tired. This blood time is in favor of Kane. It gives Kane a chance to regain his thoughts, get a little bit of his lungs working again, right? Get some air, and kind of hit the reset button. You see Harvey, he's ready to go. This is frustrating for a wrestler right now, because you're gaining the momentum and something like this happens and it kind of halts the momentum. So you see Harvey, he doesn't want to waste any time.
So it's interesting, like small intricacies of this sport. You can't coach during blood time like that either. So, you got coaches just kind of walking around. They want to coach so bad, but they can't do it. And meanwhile, you got these two wrestlers going through so many different things in their mind during that stoppage.
Yeah, for sure. And now you see right back to it, though. Kane's got a little boost of energy now, right? Firing off a shot. Harvey almost with the re-attack there. And Harvey, you see, he's just so good at just so much. His hand fighting is great. He got a little bit too ahead of himself there, where he was attacking the head a little too much. His arms were up and kind of pulled Kane right down into his own leg.
Harvey planted down, trying to swing his leg over top. Kane's going to get two out of it. Leveraged Harvey to the point where he just had to concede. Late in the period, it's Kane 6-3. Big mat return as the period winds down. That's an exclamation point from Devin Kane. Kane with his first win of the year. Taking down Harvey. Everything falling in favor of North Carolina. Devin Kane taking care of business. Coleman Scott loving it on the sideline. £197, it's Nino Bonacorsi going for Pitt tonight. And he's had some struggles recently. You can see all his accolades there, but a couple weeks ago, he lost to an unranked guy in his first collegiate match in Isaac Trumbull. And then he comes back last week and he fights back and he beats number 3 J.I.L.O. of Virginia and actually ended a long winning streak that J.I.L.O. had running. So that makes Nino the other ACC wrestler of the week. And he's wrestling up this year to 197, was at 184 last year, two-time NCAA qualifier. And for Nino, the big thing for Keith Gavin is inconsistency. He just needs some more out of his guy as a junior in Nino Bonacorsi, a local guy out of Bethel Park.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, the loss that Nino took at UNC, I think is good for him. It's weird to say maybe, but it's a great learning opportunity when you have a loss, especially an upset. It's a way he can go back into the practice room and work on things that he needs to work on and just kind of hit the reset button. And you saw him respond to a win at UVA. And so maybe it was a good thing.
Well, we asked Keith Gavin about that. You know, how does that happen, basically? And he said, well, you know, I think in the Trumbull match, it's a situation where he knew he was favored. Nino did. And once he realized that the match was a little bit tougher than he thought, he got a little frustrated, started to press, and suddenly, like you said earlier tonight, Anthony, the plan that he had, it was no longer, and he had to adjust, and it got him frustrated. But he wrestles up to competition. So when he sees the number 3 next to J.I.L.O. and sees an opportunity not only to get back in his winning ways, but also take down somebody who could be a national contender, it makes him wrestle harder.
Yeah, I agree. So Nino's season thus far has been great. He's learning a lot about himself. He's at a new weight class. He's starting to settle into the weight class too. You know, that the loss he had at UNC, I think the guy was 6'5". He's probably never wrestled a 6'5", 197-pound guy before, right? And for how much offense that Nino Bonacorsi has and how much leg attacks that he fires off, how many shots in a match, finishing on these 97-pounders is a little bit different.
Yeah, I can't imagine, honestly, having to move up a weight class after doing one thing for a year and moving up, you know, in this case, 13 pounds, and having to adjust to that with no tournaments to get through, and you're basically not competing until January.
Yeah, I think at the lower weight classes, it's not as drastic, like a 25 to a bump up to a 33 or 133, a bump up to 141. When you get up to 184, 197 heavyweight, and you're bumping up a weight class up there, it starts to become a more different type of match, a different type of athlete also.
Well, you know, of all the things that we just said about Nino, the expectation doesn't change from his coaching staff. Keith Gavin said point blank, I think he can be, and I expect him to be able to compete for a national championship.
Yeah,
so
I
the
think
expectation's there. You know, it doesn't stop.
I agree, and when you're ranked top 10, I mean, and you're not national champ, I mean, these guys are so competitive. That you could say that's a failure in their eyes and in their mind. That's just the way these guys are wired.
Meanwhile, in this match, he's up 2-1 over Max Shaw, who is experiencing a homecoming for him tonight from Thomas Jefferson High School in the Whippeal from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So you can imagine he might have some family in the building tonight. Can't confirm that, but it's a homecoming for him. You got to imagine Max Shaw, anybody from Pittsburgh, a 2019 Whipfield champion. He had to have come to matches here at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse at some point or another.
Absolutely. Here's him. Shaw just tries to go behind, but doesn't have any forward pressure or any pressure down from Nino's head or hands. And as he tries to go around Nino postures up, good head and neck, good strong back, and penetrates in and had Shaw out of position there.
Some blood time for Shaw as well. Bonacorsi himself, a two-time Whipfield champ and a two-time state runner-up. How about Max Shaw? Here's something interesting about him. You know, Thomas Jefferson High School, he was an all-state running back as well, Anthony. And he actually wanted to play football, but he kept being told when he was getting recruited that he was too small to be a college running back. So he ends up becoming a wrestler and goes to North Carolina.
He's an athletic kid, that's for sure. I used to wrestle with Max when he was a little bit more my size, and then he grew out of anything I wanted to be a part of. If I wrestled him, I would get hurt, so I stopped wrestling him. But yeah, I always enjoyed wrestling with Max and him. You know, when he was in high school, he was a Quest member. Jim Akerley coached. Probably one of the best clubs in the country. That's ran out of Washington County, right in Cannonsburg, where Cannon Mac is. So anyone who comes out of that club, I believe Nino came out of that club as well. Those guys are a different breed there at Quest.
Some more blood time here as saw it kind of come out of Shaw's nose. Look at some upcoming dates in the next month or so. ACC Wrestling Championship happening a little bit earlier than normal, about a week and a half, February 28th. It's happening at NC State in Raleigh this year after being held in Pittsburgh a season ago. And then, of course, last year's NCAA Championships, it was gearing up to happen. And then, of course, the whole world stopped in March. So they're trying to make up for lost time. This year it will be in St. Louis, Missouri, from March 18th through the 20th. And of course, we're supposed to have Summer Olympics in Japan. Number of guys in college wrestling will go to Japan. Mekhi Lewis actually redshirted a year ago for Virginia Tech to try and train for the Olympics. Of course, the Olympics did not happen. So this year he's back at Virginia Tech competing. Other guys like Dayton Fix, who we talked about earlier, part of Team USA as well. So a lot of wrestling and a big year for it coming up. 5-1 for the 7th-ranked Bonacorsi over the hometown kid Max Shaw.
Bonacorsi has great footwork, a lot of toe taps, a lot of head fakes, and you don't see that a whole lot at 197. Nino's shot attacks, the number of shots he fires off are usually double digits in a match. And I think that's where he can really benefit and show a lot of value at the 197-pound weight class, because you don't see that much activity out of bigger guys like that. And Nino, we have more blood here, but Nino, being a lighter weight his whole life, the good thing is he just got bigger, but he didn't change his style, right? So he was firing off a dozen shots in a match when he was a 74-pounder. He's firing off a dozen shots a match when he was at 84, and he's not changing anything at 97. So these guys at 97, they're tired, right? They're not used to this stuff, and that's where Nino differentiates himself.
Well, Nino inherently is a better freestyle wrestler than anything else. And how does that style translate to the collegiate style of wrestling?
It's a little different. That's always up for a debate and a good conversation, because when you start to talk about the international level, the U.S. could be a little bit behind.
In the third period, Rockford carries a 5-1 lead. Shaw begins from the bottom.
Max Shaw's double nose plugs, hard to breathe. Yeah,
so if you want to know what you get when you go up against Nino Bonacorsi, just take a look at Max Shaw's face in the third period here.
Man.
Just beating and grinding away at him as riding time ticks over a minute in favor of Bonacorsi.
Yep, and now Bonacorsi should be looking for bonus points here.
Well, the only way that Pitt has a chance in the duel is if Bonacorsi does something spectacular in the next minute and a half. And of course, wrestling is such an individual sport that he's just working on what he needs to work on right now and try to string together a couple wins in a row after beating Aiello last week.
I wouldn't be surprised even with Nino with the lead if he wouldn't fire off a shot right, here soon. Ooh, nice re-attack from Shaw. Not going to be enough. And now you see Nino kind of just have a little slight change in demeanor. Immediately after that takedown, he goes, he's ready for the cut and ready for another takedown.
More blood time for Shaw. 7-3 Bonacorsi.
Here goes Shaw, low ankle pick, head outside. Nino slips the ankle, and Shaw kind of just pauses, allows Nino to go right behind him.
Trainers are getting their work in this particular match on the mat. lot to clean up for this one.
Yeah. Once it starts, man, it's hard to stop.
And if you're interested later in some of the extra matches that the ACC is doing this year, it'll be in a separate window on ACC Network Extra. You can tune into that. We'll have 2 mats going simultaneously in the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. Coaches told us 8 or 9 matches are going to happen. That'll be in a separate window once we're done with the regular duel here at the Fitz.
With that stutter step, shot, stutter step, shot. For him to just get back to that. And he does it from the open. He really, once he breaks ties, he hits the stutter step, and he really has a great penetration. He can get in on the leg. I'd like to see Nino get a little bit more of an angle when he gets in. And there it is.
Stalling point goes to Bonacorsi.
He's got a cradle locked up here. Try to pull him in, make something happen.
Bonacorsi will get the ride time point, and they go out of bounds just before the buzzer. 2 seconds on the clock, and it looks like Shaw's going to need some more blood attention. So next week we got more Friday night duels coming your way with Pitt and Virginia Tech 15 at number 8. Duke visiting the third-ranked NC State, becoming a juggernaut wrestling program nationally, and of course in the ACC as the champs from a year ago. And then on Saturday on ACC Network Extra, you can catch some more wrestling. That'll do it at 197. Nino Bonacorsi strings together a couple wins in a row, kind of relaunching his season with a decision victory. Back with you at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, a 20-12 advantage for North Carolina. North Carolina number 14 team in the country, with host team Pittsburgh number 15 in the country. And the duel itself is out of reach for Pitt at this point. We'll have Brandon Whitman and Jake Slinger going at it at heavyweights. Slinger, a George Mason transfer, coming back to his hometown of Pittsburgh. Whitman from Dundee, Michigan, 2-time NCAA qualifier. He's lost 2 straight decisions leading into tonight. Last year, Whitman competed at 197, was the ACC runner-up at that weight class, lost to Jay Aiello, the eventual champion. Whitman with the first 2 points. So Anthony, you had a good observation earlier, and it's obviously off picture right now, but North Carolina on the second mat over to the right of your screen, they've been working out, all these athletes, basically the entire match. You said they got to have a match tomorrow. It's like, yeah, they do. They're going to Lehigh tomorrow, the Tar Heels will. It's kind of, you have to string together duels like this in weekends now to be able to obviously contact trace and keep people healthy, test, all that kind of stuff, you can compete 2 times in a couple of days.
Yeah, for sure, and that's what's going to need to happen at Nationals. But I also just want to, talk about that to the average listener at home. So I've wrestled my whole life. I'm out of the game now, and now that I'm a little bit older, looking back on some of the things that are required for an athlete to be successful in this sport, looking back are kind of crazy, right? So I got here, Kevin and I got here about 4 o'clock. Weigh-ins are at 5 o'clock, match starts at 6. These guys are working out, cutting weight from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. You have about 20, 30 minutes to get some food and liquids in your body, and then they start a hard warm-up for a half hour, and then they compete. And as soon as they're done competing, these UNC wrestlers throw their sweats back on, and they're working out again. Some of them are shadow drilling, some of them are running, some of them are biking, and they're in their sweats. And I just want to, I'm to the point, where I want the average listener, the average fan to understand some of the things that happen behind the scenes. And to see these guys have been working out since 4 o'clock, and they competed today, and they have a match tomorrow. And that match tomorrow night, they're going to work out in the morning. They're going to work out 2 hours before the match. Like, it's constant. It just requires so much that when you see it, because honestly, to the average fan, like, they don't see that stuff. That stuff's behind the scenes. It doesn't get talked about, but there's so much that work that is required in this sport just to compete, right? Just to step on the scale and make your weight. That allows you to wrestle. But everything leading up to that is days and weeks, a whole week worth of preparation. So it's really cool to see now that I am out of the sport, an outsider looking in, and just knowing that these guys are in a very, they have tunnel vision right now, and they have a large task ahead of them, but that doesn't matter to them because it's just what they do and it's just what they know.
Well, to that point, too, that's well said by you, and I think it's important for people to understand that. But then, on top of all of that, I mean, you're just talking about game day, right, or match day, but think about the week that it takes to lead up to it. Obviously, you're practicing in the wrestling room, you're working on technical stuff, you're watching film, and all of that, too. You add school on top of it, which a lot of these athletes tonight, which we haven't mentioned, but a lot of these athletes are all ACC academic teams, right? Just scholar athletes, both in the classroom and out in on the mat here. But then you add in pandemic-related things, testing, contact tracing, quarantining as much as possible unless you're in the wrestling room. It's just an incredibly tough year for all student athletes and the amount of things that they are juggling right now. So it's well said by you. And
yeah.
What do you think of all of that? The fact that you've added so many layers to something that was already so difficult to do at a high level.
It's just like you said, it's already hard at baseline. And then you add everything else on top of it. But, we kind of talked about it earlier. These are really good athletes. These are high-character individuals that were raised the right way, high morals. So this stuff, yeah, it's a challenge. It's a bump in the road. They may have to alter a few things, but in order to be an athlete at the Division I level, you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to change and pivot on the dime too. So everybody's learning at the same pace with the new the new schedule and everything. So a lot of experimentation, I'm sure, is going on as well with these athletes and what works for them.
Whitman controlling this thing really well through a period and a half. And I kind of want to, before we get to the third period, where do you go here if you're Keith Gavin? I mean, this was a tight match, obviously, and really what set everything apart, like you said, which, by the way, I want to mention, before the match, I had Anthony pick his winners, and he's perfect up to this point. But that might end in this particular match. We'll find out. But, if you're Keith Gavin, you knew that bonus points were going to be the difference. Your ranked guys didn't get the bonus points. UNC's guys did. So moving forward here, he mentioned that he's going to have to start tapering down, start to individually train, work on mentality, things like that. What's the road from here for Keith Gavin and the Panthers?
I think for these guys, I'd break it up into the wrestling aspect and then, you know, the other aspect of just overall well-being, mental space, right? So the morale has to be high. Everything has to be positive. It has to have a kind of a mix between a light atmosphere, fun atmosphere, and then, you know, sprinkle that in with a little bit of, hey, let's get down to business. So on that side of things, you got to keep the morale high. You got to keep it positive, right? Got to keep it light. And then on the other side, the technical side of the sport, you have to individualize at this point in the season, right? Some things that work for Austin, you know, for Matthews, may not work for Nino. And that's the job, that's the coach's job to identify each individual's athletes' learning techniques and training techniques and alter and cater to them. So, yeah, a combination of all those different things.
The ACC has kind of split itself up, I think, through competition of the master class of the conference right now is NC State, the defending champions. Virginia Tech, 7-0 in duels this year, 3-0 in the conference. And then you kind of have Pitt, North Carolina, Virginia rummaging around there in the middle with Duke in the basement at this moment. But North Carolina with this win tonight and their big guys performing the way that they needed to, Coleman Scott's got to feel good, especially about the individuals that he has and potential national champions in about a month.
Yeah, and I'm sure that he's looking at the calendar and saying, okay, we have this many days till nationals. This 125-pound guy, my 125-pounder needs this to get him here. My 33-pounder needs this to get him here. And you best believe that they are planning months ahead, even though they have to make sure their athletes have their mindset at what's right in front of them.
Keep in mind, in a couple of minutes on ACC Network, NC State and Virginia Tech going at it. So make sure you stick with us on Friday Night Duels on the ACC Network, as this one's wrapping up at the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. Anthony, final thoughts from you on North Carolina and Pitt as UNC is going to take a 23-12 dual victory.
Great showing by UNC. They won the tight matches. Coleman Scott had his guys ready. Pitt showed a lot of heart. Gavin, you know, I think he's going to go back to the drawing board here, but nothing to hold your head on. Great outing from both teams.
Well, keep your eyes moving forward on Austin O'Connor, a potential national champion. Guys like Kennedy Monday, Zach Sherman, Clay Lout for North Carolina. Mickey Philippi performed tonight as